Welcome to GlowJob, the beauty podcast that's more than skin deep. We're the only podcast to make you hotter and smarter.
All right, we're back with another news roundup. Hi, Sasa.
Hey, Julia. We got this first story that I want to talk about because it is just so wild, but it's about your favorite person, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez. They are now the new lead sponsors for next year's Met Gala, and they're the co-chairs as well.
You know, I don't know if I love Bezos. To be honest, I think I love Lauren Sanchez a little bit more.
That makes sense. Totally. I mean, Jeff Bezos has had quite the glow up since he's gotten together with Lauren. So
I know.
According to Mary Claire, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez are the co-chairs and sponsors who are supposed to roughly bring in about 450 guests to the gala. And each guest is $75,000 per person. So that totals $33.75 million that comes in for the Met Gala every year.
And I think what a lot of people might not realize is like this whole Met Gala is a fundraiser. I remember when I was in my 20s and my eyes just got open because I'm like, oh, I always thought it was associated with Vogue magazine, but it is the Metropolitan Museum raising money for their costume department. And they basically like partner with Vogue, and that's what all of this money is going to.
Yes. Anyone who's ever been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City knows that it's a pay what you wish museum. You don't have to actually pay for the ticket. It's basically comped and free because they have such a large endowment, in big part thanks to this giant fundraiser they do every year. So for 2026, the Met says that the theme is going to be, quote unquote, costume art. And it's all about, quote, embracing the body. What are your thoughts on this theme?
I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of naked dresses, right? Like I was waiting for this trend to be over of all of these celebs just wearing this very nude, sheer, lots of rhinestones and sequins, but that's just what it's going to be, like just taken to the next level, I feel like.
Yeah, embracing the body is like a very gentle way of saying, show us everything.
You know, but it's very Lauren Sanchez.
It is. It's very on theme. I think folks have been pretty upset, though, by this co-chair appointment.
Duh, right? Like, I feel like so many people in the fashion industry, you know, whatever their politics might be, probably don't really align with Jeff Bezos, you know, but it is what it is. Like, who else is going to be shelling out that much money to sponsor this event?
So, you know, Condé Nast has not been doing well. It's no news that they have laid off staff. They've put Teen Vogue staff just like basically bye-bye. And a lot of folks have quietly been saying that, you know, very easily the Bezos, they could buy Condé Nast if they wanted that kind of influence. But I think this is, you know, my opinion, just conjecture out there. I think ever since Bezos got together with Lauren Sanchez, I feel like Lauren is driving the seat here. She's like, hey, honey, you got lots of money and I want to be famous and like of the culture, and we can do this with our influence. And so even though they could technically just like buy Condé Nast and be like, haha, we are the purveyors of culture, what they're doing right now is this semi-covert way of trying to infiltrate like the culture, to be like, we're on the cover of Vogue, now we're the co-chairs of the Met. Like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? It's just by accident. But no, it's very intentional.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, you know, she's still trying to win favor for all of the, you know, all of the Vogue elites, the fashion elites, but she's going to get there. I mean, someone's got to be funding them some like one way or another. And like what you just said totally makes sense. But, you know, Jeff has been so busy since he left Amazon in 2021, and he really is just living the billionaire's dream. But before I get into like all of those other things, you know, when you mentioned how he could buy Condé Nast, you know, he does own the Washington Post, right?
Yes.
So he's already doing a lot when it comes to like not controlling the media, but owning parts of it. But I really want to just get into this whole like Jeff Bezos glow up because it has been bringing me so much joy watching this middle-aged man step into the limelight. But, you know, again, he left Amazon in 2021 and then he started Blue Origins went to space. I feel like that's every billionaire's dream. But I know there's a lot of like debate, especially amongst like the nerds and the techies of like, did he go to space or not? Right? It's like space with quotations. But there's that. He bought that mega yacht. Remember, they had to deconstruct the Rotterdam Bridge to get it out there.
I do remember this.
Crazy. But my favorite part of the yacht was the statue
Of Lauren
with these huge boobs.
I know.
At the front of the ship. But, you know, they are definitely doing a lot to like work their way more into arts and culture, like through his like Amazon and how Amazon Video just acquired MGM Studios. They now own the entire James Bond franchise. And there's a lot of talk that in the next James Bond movie, guess who's going to be the Bond girl?
Oh God, no, please don't.
It's going to be Lauren Sanchez.
No. This is where I have to put my foot down because you know what? This is so cringe. I get it. You've got money. I get it. You went through a divorce by Mackenzie. I wonder what Mackenzie thinks about this. She probably looks at this and is like, who the is this bro? But right? I would. I just think like, it's so heavy-handed. Basically, it feels like Jeff was a big nerd. He became really rich. It's like such a stereotype. He like finds the second wife and he's like, now I want to be a stud. Like it's so cringe. And we were talking about like them, coming into the Met Gala and how Lauren is trying to like, hobnob with all the fashion people to prove that, she's a quote unquote fashion girly now. It reminds me of a very similar story arc, which is Kim Kardashian. And when she was trying so hard to get into the Met Gala and be besties with Anna Wintour. And
I mean, she did it. She did it. And the way that she got in was through Kanye West. Like, I think Anna Wintour was once quoted saying the Kardashians will never be at a Met Gala. Yep. And then Kanye West, they got married. She came as a guest. And now I don't know how many covers have the Kardashians been on. Not just Kim, but if you add all of them up and all their covers, it's been dozens.
I know. And it's showing that Condé Nast needs money and influence. And apparently these are the folks who are going to make them relevant still.
It's say what you want, but it's the truth. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Kardashianification arc totally makes sense. Lauren Sanchez is obsessed with the Kardashians. I'm pretty sure like when she did her whole like girl gang group to space, I'm confident she invited all the Kardashians. And the only reason why they didn't get on board was because they have too many kids to look after.
That's hilarious.
No, but it's true, right? Like, I don't know. Would you risk it? Like, would you go to space if you have 4 kids and like, I don't know how many others there are, but there's like dozens of them at this point.
Everyone has a different risk tolerance, so I get it. But the other thing, did you know that Lauren and Kim's friendship, like, do you know how that sparked?
No.
Okay, so apparently they were in Paris and they were, I forgot if it was an auction or something. I think it was an auction and they were auctioning for like the same dress. It was like, I believe a Balenciaga dress or some designer dress and it was quite expensive. And I forgot which one of them ultimately bought it. But since they both were bidding on it, they started becoming friends after because they both were like, oh my gosh, we both want the same dress. How amazing. And then they ultimately decided to share said dress. And that's how they became friends.
Okay. I get it. That is, I'm sure they love telling that story at all the cocktail parties. But as much as Lauren Sanchez wants to be friends with the Kardashians, I'm 1,000% sure it's like reciprocal, right? Oh, yeah. I think that they both want to be friends with each other.
Look, rich people help rich people climb up the ladder. It's just how the world works.
It is. Next in beauty news, and I know our younger audiences are going to love this story, but Sol de Janeiro is launching a limited fragrance called 6'7".
This is hilarious. I mean, clearly Sol de Janeiro's marketing team is on the pulse of like what's trending on TikTok. But basically this limited edition scent is their Cheirosa 6'7" perfume mist. And the name 6'7" was inspired by the very viral Gen Alpha 6'7" TikTok trend.
6'7". You got to do it. 6'7".
6'7". I can't. Every time I'm like, oh my God, such brain rot. But it's a play off of their already very popular Cheirosa 71 scent. But it just features like scribbles over the 71 and then says 67 instead.
It's not new packaging per se. They're just repurposing previously unused bottles of their OG scent. But the font is really fun. Like it looks like someone just went in with a Sharpie and just kind of did a 6'7" on top of it. But I'm confident it's going to sell out.
It probably will. I still don't fully get the 6'7". Like I get it, but I don't get it. I'm just like, why is this still a thing?
I think that's the point. I don't think you're supposed to get it. I've seen a lot of TikToks out there that try and unpack what 6, 7 means and all these different reasons, but I really just think that it's brain rot. I think kids like just saying whatever just to kind of fill the void, maybe make their classmates laugh. But again, it's so smart of Sol de Janeiro to do this because you're doing this drop right as Black Friday is creeping up. So all the moms, all the aunts, all the cool cousins, they're going to be buying this for, their little nieces.
Speaking of TikTok, let's talk about this wild TikTok story, the Danish Deception. Former Bachelor contestant Onyeka has gone viral on TikTok after sharing her 25-part series about her Danish ex-husband and how he has conned her.
I am obsessed. This is Tinder Swindler in 2025. I kind of needed something to keep me going, right? Like we need these stories every once in a while just as a reminder that men ain't shit, right?
Men ain't shit, but also just like there are liars everywhere and it is scary.
So to break down what happened to Onyeka, so she was on vacation, she meets this gorgeous man, and immediately they start, a casual fling. They don't hook up, they just talk, and they start, long distance relationship. She goes back to the States. He flies her out to Monaco, starts to, woo-woo her, wine and dine her, takes her to south of France. She even had an opportunity. He was going to give her like this big, crazy shopping spree while they were in south of France. Tell me why she only walked away with a $200 pair of sunglasses.
That's not a spree. That's a drop it. What is that?
I know. Apparently he was offering her all of the stuff. Like, let me buy you this. Let me buy you that. Because he was telling her that I am a real estate mogul executive, C-suite. And I also have ties to the Danish royalty. So she's really thinking that, he is just creme de la creme, 6'2", blonde hair, blue eyes, trust fund. All of those things. But over time, they start to fall more and more in love. He ends up moving to the United States. They get married. He gets a green card and he's living with her in her place. So it's not like he's moving out and just, giving her this lavish lifestyle that he was kind of promising. And slowly, things start to unravel a little bit. He starts to get a little bit sketchy. And it turns out that he had a really massive gambling problem, an addiction he'd been battling for a decade. And he was secretly borrowing money from all of her friends, family, coworkers, acquaintances, almost or over $300,000.
That is so bad. I will say on the shopping spree thing though, I almost want to give her credit because it's she, instead of taking advantage of a person and buying a crap ton of stuff, she's I'll just buy one pair of sunglasses. But again, all of this is so crazy. And the fact this guy borrowed money from her coworkers, who does that?
So the worst of it is that he borrowed $3,000 from her little sister.
Oh God.
That is crazy to me. But every step along the way, I didn't watch the entire series. I think I maybe watched every other video because it's a lot.
25 is a lot.
Yeah. 25 is a lot. And they're not 1 minute videos. They're all minutes long. Mm-hmm. But there were so many times where I was just wondering, is this girl dumb? Because it's, it was 2021, 2022 when all of this was going down, when they first met or whatever. And Google exists. Wikipedia exists. He was saying so many things to her that are so easily Googleable that I just don't think she Googled. The whole Danish royalty ties thing. He even told her he was an Olympic medalist. That is for sure on Wikipedia.
Olympic medalist, yes, that feels like it should be easily discernible. It depends on what kind of a story he wove, because if he's I'm the second cousin of the prince down the whatever chain, I feel that can get a little bit muddied. But Olympian, yeah, that's, you gotta fact check that.
Exactly. The way he kept getting more and more money from all of the people in her lives is he just told the same story over and over again. All my money is tied up in my European bank. All of my business funds have been frozen. I can't move money out here to the United States. So can you loan me 3, 5, 10? One guy was $200,000 and they would just give it to him.
Who gave him $200,000? That's 2/3 of the money.
I know.
Wait, that that person needs to go to, like, they need some help. That's too much money to give away to someone.
Insane. I think it was like one of her friend's husbands gave him $200,000. But the thing is, the way he didn't just ask for $200,000 straight up. He would first be like, hey, bro, can you loan me $15,000? I really want to buy Onyeka, the super like nice Rolex. And he would pay them back. So he established a little bit of trust that way. And then he would just ask for more and more and more. But she was talking about how embarrassing it was to have to open up her Rolodex and call every single person she had ever come into contact with and ask them, did he take money from you? And everyone basically said, yes, he took a little money from me or a lot of money from me.
He Ponzi schemed the heck out of these people.
The wild thing to me, though, is that she doesn't name him at all through any single one of her stories, but really easily the internet was able to find exactly who this man was because digital footprint, let's not forget, they were pulling up like old vacation photos, their trip to Nigeria to see her family. They really went deep to expose this guy.
I wonder where he's at now. This is like so sad.
So less on brain rot and more on beauty news. Parallel Health, a women's supplement company, just closed a round where they raised $27 million in funding.
So Parallel is a 5-year-old premium supplement brand, and they launched with a focus on fertility and motherhood, but they closed this $27 million round from Prelude Growth Partners, and it's aimed to expand beyond just prenatal care into full spectrum, quote unquote, clinically backed wellness. So think fertility, perimenopause, etc.
The way that this brand works, because I have been going through my own fertility journey and I've been doing so much research on the best prenatals out there, and they're kind of hook really is that they have so much science that they have created different types of supplements that you need to take per trimester of pregnancy. And so they have their first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. They now have supplements for like post baby when you're breastfeeding, after the baby, and even before you have the baby. They have supplements for when you're trying to conceive. They have supplements for when you're going through IVF. They really tackle every single stage of a woman's womanhood, if that makes sense. But what I don't love about them is that I do find it to be extremely, extremely expensive. It's like $60. It's almost $2 a day to take these supplements. And when you do look at the ingredients, I did so much research. I've read every single medical report, doctors' opinions, Reddit threads, really trying to find what the best prenatals are. And all the ones that the doctors recommend, the one that I personally use is Nature Made. It's $28 at Costco for a 150-day supply.
Yeah, that is a good deal.
So, what are they doing so differently? Is it worth a premium of, $2 a day? That's a lot.
I haven't done as much research into their individual lines of the different supplements. In some ways, it makes sense to differentiate like the type of supplements you might need while pregnant or post-pregnancy, and obviously, of course, prenatal. Like those segments make a lot of sense to me. But then to further break them down into these granular bits, it seems a little almost fear-mongering. It's like, if you don't do this, you're not eating the right things and you're not helping your body and you're going to hurt your baby. It doesn't make sense.
That's honestly how I feel about it. I feel like it's definitely fear-mongering, thinking that, if I'm not niching down so specific to these 3 months of my life, I'm doing my baby a disservice. Because I look through the differences between the first 3 trimesters and what is it that people are missing, right? What do these guys know that we don't? To be honest, they're really not adding that much. It has the same base of prenatal for every single trimester. And then it just adds on 1 or 2 extra ingredients. So in your first trimester, it's adding on some ginger root to help you with nausea. And your second, it adds a little more calcium. And in the third, it's just adding in a probiotic. So to me, it's a lot that they're putting on the buyer to kind of think that they have to do to bring a healthy baby into the world. And I just don't love that attitude. But I can see why so many women would fall into this, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I also think there are some women who are just like, look, I'm so busy. I'm so tired. I don't want to have to do all this research. Just tell me what to take and I'll take it. And so I think there are people who will pay a premium for that kind of curation. And so clearly those are the folks who are buying Parallel.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that are really capitalizing on this market of women trying to get pregnant or babies. One story that has been really taking over the news lately is this formula company called ByHeart, and they are just now going under their second recall. And their whole thing is like making the world's best formula for kids. And so it's like, to me, it's like people that are in those two industries do have a similar thought of like wanting to bring a better product to market, but they do kind of fearmonger along the way because they really make you think that existing products are not good enough.
I will say though, with this fundraise, I do like that they're going to be putting a focus also onto perimenopause, because I think that's a conversation that is just starting to gain some traction in circles. Like in the past, I mean, like when we were growing up, I had no idea what the frick perimenopause was. Like I barely knew what menopause was, and that still was a black box to me.
I haven't done enough research into perimenopause to really understand what it means. You know, call it the skeptic in me, but sometimes when I see these kind of phrases appearing, is it just a marketing ploy to market to a new subsect of women, right? You know, like obviously your hormones change throughout your entire life, especially if you're a woman. Ever since you're born, your hormones are changing. So is it creating this new category of people that need to be sold new products to?
I get where you're coming from. The only reason why I think it is necessary is because I have a friend who is actually going through perimenopause and was so confused for the longest time of like what was happening to her body. Like she started getting these crazy night sweats. She was like, her body was feeling off. Just everything was not right. And then she kept pressing her OB for like test. And then finally got a hormone test. And they were like, oh, we know you're kind of young, but you're like starting perimenopause already. So I think it's something that like happens to more people than we think. We just don't know what it is. So we don't know what to call it yet.
No, that's fair. But perimenopause, it's really just this time right before menopause starts. Mm-hmm. And so people are now just putting a label on it because it looks like women who are younger and younger are starting to fall into that camp. It's super similar to like this huge spike in PCOS that we're seeing. And I know so many women that say that they have PCOS and the doctors say that they have PCOS. But it's also this kind of enigma because there's no real solution to PCOS. You can go on these diets or whatever, but you can't take a pill or a medicine to make it any better. And also sometimes I think supplements are crap. Not prenatal supplements, but you know, we've talked a lot ad nauseum at times about how sketchy the supplement industry can be.
I know it's not regulated. So it's so hard for consumers to discern what's real, what's not, what works, what doesn't. It's a tough thing.
It's tough.
Next up in beauty and business news, Oddity Tech launches a new dermatology telehealth platform called Method IQ.
And if you're unfamiliar with Oddity, because I honestly wasn't super well versed in this brand, but it's a consumer tech platform and they build and scale all of these digital brands in the beauty and wellness space. And Method IQ is a third brand within their umbrella. They also own Il Maquillage and they do makeup as well as Spoiled Child. And they do a lot in the skin and kind of hair care space.
So Oddity Tech actually IPO'd back in 2023, and they had a really strong IPO. They like opened at $35 a share. Their performance has been kind of up and down since. I think they last priced at $37 based off the last closing market price.
And to me, this is just surprising because I don't follow the markets as well as I should, but I did look a little bit into their overall sales. This company is massive. In 2024, they did $647 million, which was up 27% from the previous year. Spoiled Child alone, a brand that I had never heard of, is doing $150 million in sales.
That's very good.
It is crazy good. I mean, those numbers are up there with like, you know, what Rhode does. You know what I mean? It's just so wild at how big the beauty industry is and how many companies are out there that we don't know of. And maybe I'm not their target demo, right? I don't get their ads. I don't see influencers using them. I don't know.
So I think the big play on Oddity is like they love to say that they're consumer plus tech. So it's like obviously they're selling consumer brands like a makeup brand, skincare brand, and now this telehealth brand. But I think what they also say is that they use a lot of proprietary like AI and they leverage all of their data. I haven't looked into exactly what kind of data that is. Perhaps it's like the actual consumer data that they're using to make decisions off of like what products to make, what to launch. But I think it's like basically both a tech and consumer play, which is why it's done so well.
The tech component, I'm always a little bit skeptical of because typically when beauty companies are saying, oh, we use AI. They don't use AI, right? They're using machine learning, they're using big data, and they're just kind of matching people. There's really no AI involved when you're going through like, oh, let's do an analysis of my skin or let's pick a foundation for me. That's never really AI being used. A lot of times, if they are using AI more for the consumer experience and how they go about shopping and retention and all of those things, that is definitely more interesting.
Not related, but kind of related to this story. I think one thing that people are just so hungry about is just when they see the word AI, and there is obviously an appetite for more research and understanding how AI works. So there was this news story recently about a PhD student at MIT who was considered like this like prodigy, such a smart economist. Like he had co-written these like really important papers with another big professor, and everyone was like, this kid's so smart. So he published a recent paper, I think earlier this year, and it was talking about this proprietary data that he got from a material science company. And he was saying how like he was doing all this research on how AI affected how they developed new materials. Material science is basically like the type of engineering where like scientists are like, let's find new literal materials that we can use to build things. It's kind of a crazy thing. But anyway, so he writes this paper. He's getting all of this press about it. People are like, wow, he's so smart. And then one day, this other economist somewhere in San Diego is like, I don't know, the data in this paper looks super sketch. Like, I don't know if this is like real or not. Like, this doesn't feel like a legitimate study. And then he contacts his other bestie scientist friends and they do a bunch of digging. And then lo and behold, they find out that this kid made up this study. He made up the company, he made up the data, he made up all this, the whole AI story. And it's been this big thing in academia of just like, oh no, people are so hungry for like AI news that like when we see a good story, we want to believe it. But it's so nascent and early stage that like people aren't doing enough research to really look behind the scenes to be like, is this real or not? Anyway, random story, but I feel like applicable.
I love that story. It is so crazy. Also bummer. I feel like the people in general, they have so much trust in academia. They just think that, oh, they're researchers. They're choosing to go into research instead of making money, going corporate. So you kind of think that they're more trustworthy in that regard. But no, not at all.
Everyone wants to be popular or famous or liked. Like that is a human driver. So even if you're in academia where you're not making like buku bucks, you still want to feel special. And sometimes that motivates you to do sketchy things.
Clearly.
Today's the day of lying from that girl and then
it's crazy.
Guy.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I honestly love it. It's such a weird thing about human behavior when it comes to lying. I was watching this video about when do humans learn to lie and how when a baby first learns to lie, it's a sign. It's one of the milestones that they're expected to hit. So if you go up to your baby and say, "Did you eat this cookie?" And you almost kind of want your baby to say, no, I didn't eat it, even though they did, but showing that they can lie, AKA they know the difference between truth and reality and consequences when you do the wrong thing. So they lie. That is supposed to be a milestone.
That's scary. It makes sense, but that's scary.
It's one of the like less fun milestones, I think. It's like, you know, talking is fun, walking is fun, lying to your face.
Oh, look at little Bobby. He's growing up.
Last story that we have, and it is a bummer. We hate to end things on a bad note, but another Australian sunscreen brand is experiencing some recalls.
So the brand Bondi Sands has now recalled 2 mineral sunscreens due to a potential problem with the product separating.
That is really bad.
It is really bad. I guess the only silver lining here is like, okay, at least they didn't like totally F up their sunscreen rating. But on the same side, it's like, if it's separating, that means that it's degrading, which means that the SPF rating is probably also not very good.
Exactly. And so it happened to Bondi Sands. And when this whole Aussie sunscreen scandal broke, it really focused on ultraviolet. I think ultraviolet got the brunt of it. They didn't own the formula. The third-party company owned it. And so a lot of different Australian companies were using that same mineral formula, but everything kind of fell on ultraviolet with all of this. And their 50 mineral SPF was proven to only have an SPF rating of 4 in certain studies. So it just kind of keeps happening. I have no idea if the Bondi Sands formula is related to the ultraviolet formula. And it's really bad because sunscreen is supposed to protect you from things like skin cancer. So in situations like this, it's really your health on the line.
So PSA, you guys, if you have a sunscreen or a product in general that has an uneven texture, visible water that's separating out of the product, that is a sign that your sunscreen is no longer working and it's time to throw it out.
Exactly. If your product changes over time, it's definitely gotta go.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's news roundup. Stay tuned for next Monday when we do our weekly roundup of beauty, business, and pop culture news.
And we'll see you for our chit chat on Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.